Should you throw your PC away for a PS5? There's a free weekend going on right now. Even more games are getting crossplay on the PS5, and we have to talk about this Hogwarts Legacy State of Play. This is a jam-packed episode of PlayStation news. Rainbow Six Siege came out all the way back in 2015, and looking at where it's at now, I would have never expected it after reading reviews, seeing how messy it was at launch, but man, they doubled down and really created one of the best hero shooters pretty much ever made. At first, the operators were pretty realistic. Like, you had a dude with a sledgehammer who smashed through walls, and then you had Ash who has a grenade launcher that like shoots drill grenades that can also shoot through surfaces. But now they're doing even crazier stuff. Like, there's a character who can make a complete mimic of themselves that you can use as sort of a recon decoy or like a free life. You can't actually shoot with that mimic, but you can run into a building and see where an enemy is. And this game is still getting content, and I was honestly shocked when I saw how big the latest patch was. It includes a lot of stuff. Not only is it bringing along a new defender named Azami, they also have a team deathmatch mode in the game. They have match replay for console players, phone number requirement to play ranked, Goyo and Valkyrie balancing updates, exclusive elite skin for Nomad, attacker Repick, and new R6 fix incentive program. And this game already has a pretty healthy player base, but from March 17th until the 24th, you can actually download and play the game for free, and you can get a little bit of a discount if you decide you want to pick it up. I actually got heavily into this game in 2020 with all my friends. We played this like every night for 12 to 13 hours straight, and we actually got pretty dang good. And then we just got kind of bored of it and moved on. But it's a really fun tactical shooter. So if you're looking for something new to play that you haven't really tried out before, or it's been a while since you jumped into Siege, this might be worth checking out because, you know, it's a free game. You can play on your PS5. I mean, what more is there to ask for than that? You can also play it on the PS4. I'm actually kind of curious about a team deathmatch mode. It'd be really cool if they could figure out how to work the spies versus mercs mode that they used to have in Splinter Cell, where the spies were playing in third person and the mercenaries were playing in first person. They'd have to add in a bunch of new characters that played in third person in this game, but man, that multiplayer mode was so damn good. I wish they would try it out. Guys, Jim Ryan just texted me and he said that a lot of 90s kids who watch this channel are not subscribed to it, and that's just not gonna work out for me. So if you're a 90s kid like me, make sure you hit the subscribe button and set your notifications to all, because Jim Ryan's gonna let me know. He's got my number. He texts me in the morning. He texts me way too much. Have you seen how this guy holds a controller? I don't want him texting me. So yeah, that's just a little PSA for people who are looking for a new multiplayer shooter to check out. You may as well do it while it's free over the weekend. So in my last video, I talked about how the new Borderlands game, Wonderlands, it's actually a spinoff, is getting crossplay across all the different consoles, including PlayStation, which is crazy because Sony has not been cool about crossplay for the longest time, right? At first they didn't want it at all, but then Fortnite got as big as it is, and they kind of strong-armed Sony a little bit into including it. So Sony came up with this genius idea to tax developers who wanted to use crossplay, and things apparently have gotten a lot better, and they're opening the doors even more because now we're also getting Borderlands 3 full crossplay as an update that's being included for free in the game. This update's coming to both PS4 and PS5, and when they include it, you'll be able to play with people who are on Xbox Series consoles, Mac, Stadia, PC, PlayStation 4, and of course PlayStation 5. I really have no issue with crossplay in a PvE game. The only games where I think it really causes issues are multiplayer shooters like Rainbow Six Siege, for example. If it had crossplay and I was on my PlayStation 5 and someone else was on their PC, they were using keyboard and mouse, I'd be at an actual disadvantage against them, and that makes it a lot less fun. You can do as much aim assist as you want, but you really have so much more fine movement control when you're using a keyboard and mouse. Now, I know it's easy to look at this scenario and say, well, they coded it into Wonderlands, so it's probably easy to retroactively code it into Borderlands 3, which is definitely true, but we've heard from so many developers out there that a lot of these games that are coming out have crossplay ready to go, to the point where it's just a flip of the switch and they keep that switch turned off because Sony wasn't allowing it. There was actually a game, I think it was Fortnite, where they turned it on for a day by accident and people were using crossplay and then they had to shut it off. And that's kind of how the floodgates opened, and these developers kind of strong-armed Sony into letting them start using crossplay. I'd like to see it come to more games, and really the timing makes a lot of sense because Sony is doubling down on on these PC ports they're doing. As of now, they haven't really made any big multiplayer games that are also on PS5 and PC, but we know they're working on a full multiplayer game for The Last of Us Part 2 that is heavily rumored to be on PC at the same day that it's on PS5. So knowing that, you got to assume that they're going to have crossplay ready to go, because that massively expands the audience of a game, and it makes sure that no matter what time of day people are getting on, they don't have to worry about other people not being available to play. If you increase the size of the pool, more people are going to jump in. But yeah, these developers are going to have to make sure they have some sort of protection for people on console versus keyboard and mouse players, especially in first-person shooters. Guys, I've been working hard on coming up with some cool merch to sell here on the channel, and nothing is cooler than a simple logo t-shirt, especially when it's in the Doom 2016 font. So if you want to get one of your very own PSReady logo t-shirts, we can find each other in public and do a secret handshake. You can check it out down in the merch shelf below this video or at staypsready.com, and if you want to get 10% off your first order, make sure you use the code STAYREADY. So the big 20-minute state of play all about Hogwarts Legacy just wrapped up, and honestly guys, I think this game looks really cool. Last time we talked about it, I was kind of wondering how the combat would be. I was wondering how open the world of Hogwarts was going to be. I was wondering if you're going to be able to go to Hogsmeade, explore the forest, go to different locations, if there's going to be dungeons. There were so many questions, and this video just kind of answered all of the questions I had. 20 minutes is a long time, so I'd honestly be kind of shocked if they didn't answer most of my questions, but still, it was cool to see a video that just plainly displayed what this game is. So it takes place in the 1800s, as we already knew. You're going to make your own 5th year student coming into Hogwarts, and you've got some sort of extra magical powers that allow you to interface with the world in different ways compared to the other students there. I think it's really cool that they're setting this so far back in the past so they can make sure that all of the professors are different people than we've seen in the movies. But the world of Hogwarts itself looks like it's going to be very familiar because, you know, Warner Brothers makes all the Harry Potter movies. They're the ones who established how Hogwarts looks, and now Warner Brothers Games is making the game. So there's a lot of synergy there. I picked out so many locations I recognized immediately from the movies in that trailer, and it made me feel very nostalgic. I remember when I was a kid and my dad took me to see the second Harry Potter movie in theaters. That's one of my best memories, and it's going to be cool to have this game this holiday because that's when the release date is supposedly going to be. I hope they can hit that release date because they've delayed it so many times. I'm just a little skeptical, but the fact that they put the holiday 2022 banner on it, that basically covers October all the way through December. So I think they're probably going to be able to hit that mark. I just hope it's a complete game and not an 80% done game that they're releasing in the holiday season to capitalize on all of those Christmas purchases that are going to pop up. There were quite a few things that stood out to me in this trailer. I'll start with combat. It looked really cool. It looked really flashy. It looked like you could chain combos and different spells together. I hope there's more spells than the ones we saw in the trailer. That would make a lot of sense to me because, you know, they don't want to show too much too early. And I love that these trailers showed stuff from the beginning of the game because we actually saw a lot in the trailer, but I think they're doing a good job at hiding stuff that's going to pop up later in the game. I'm just really curious how advanced the combat is going to be. Like, am I just going to hit a button? Is it going to play like a third-person shooter where you have to aim with the left trigger and then select your spell? There's still a lot of mystery there, and that's cool because we have a few months at least to get that stuff revealed before the game comes out at the end of the year. I'm just going to be real. The thing that stood out the most to me is the fact that you can rescue animals and take them back to your little magical house and heal them and let them hang out. I want to have like a little magical creature farm. I always thought the creatures in Harry Potter were cool when I was a kid, and seeing how the Room of Requirement is being used as a sort of hub world where you can have your own little house that when you go into it, it's its own bigger world. That's the imaginative stuff that you see in the Harry Potter universe, and I'm glad that there's a lot of creativity going on here. I'm just absolutely blown away at just how much content it seems like is going to be included in this game. They said there's going to be dungeons, there's going to be a full-on story. You saw people flying on a broom, you also saw people flying on a hippogriff. They said that there's going to be puzzle areas outside of Hogwarts. They showed off Hogsmeade. Like, this looks like the fully featured Hogwarts experience. The only thing that I'm kind of like iffy on is the whole story with the bad guys being a bunch of goblins. I think that's cool. It just kind of feels like they're a little bit smaller scale than the more human enemies we've been seeing even in the Fantastic Beasts films. Like, I get why they had to do that, because if it was anyone crazy from the Harry Potter mythology, there'd be a logic break there where it's like, why wasn't this crazy wizard who basically took over Hogwarts and almost killed everyone mentioned at all in the first 7 books? They can use Grindelwald in these Fantastic Beasts movies because he's NPCs referenced a bunch throughout the books, but whoever they came up with as a human enemy in this game probably wouldn't be. But on the other hand, they haven't really explored the lore of the goblins at all in any of the Harry Potter stuff as far as I'm aware. So I'm kind of interested to see what they do with that. I really like the ride at Universal Studios where you go through Gringotts. I hope you're able to do that. I didn't even notice if Diagon Alley was in the trailer, but that is, yes, another place I would really like to see in this game. You might not see it though because you're a 5th year student coming in, and that's interesting in itself too. Like, why are you a 5th year student and not a 1st year student? There's a lot of mysteries that they introduced here, and with all the questions they answered, they left even more open-ended. That's a cool way to get me excited and interested in your game. Obviously, all the developers on camera at the end of the video were kind of just giving us canned marketing speak. There was one person whose line really felt genuine to me when she said she was testing out a quest to make sure that it was actually working right, and then she realized 45 minutes have gone by because she's just exploring Hogwarts. I feel like that's going to be me, right? Like, at the very least, I think this game is going to have a well-realized Hogwarts that you can just walk around. So even if the story isn't up to snuff or the combat isn't as good as you'd want it to be, you'll have Hogwarts to explore, and that's pretty cool. I mean, it'd be really cool if they could copy Assassin's Creed, how they have those discovery modes where you can kind of just explore ancient Egypt or explore ancient Greece. I just want an exploration mode that I can jump into super quick that's removed from the story and just walk around Hogwarts. And then the last thing they really need to work on here is the graphics. It just looked a little inconsistent. Like, some of the parts where they used the repair spell on that stone bridge that was going up to the really tall island with the dilapidated castle, the graphics there were great. And in that same area they showed later in the trailer, the lighting was really good. It was towards the end of the day. The hippogriff that they were flying around on looked really well textured. But then some of the rooms within Hogwarts just looked a little low res to me. So I hope they can smooth out the consistency of it. Like, I wouldn't even mind if they pared back the graphics on some of the parts that stand out as looking way better, if they can't figure out how to bring all the parts that don't look as good up to the same level by the time the game comes out. The last thing I'm really curious about is the story and how much, or if at all, it's going to tie into the Harry Potter universe. Like, they showed this goblin villain, right? Like, he seems like he's going to be the main villain, but we've seen game trailers, especially for open world games, kind of do a bait and switch where they make you think that's going to be the villain and then later on it's someone else. Guys, I'm excited for this game. I'm just going to be real. My expectations were met. We've been hearing about it for so long that I've had enough time to imagine what an open world Harry Potter game would be. Nothing really surprised me here because it was just like every box you could check was covered, and that's a good thing. I want them to kind of play it safe with Harry Potter because I don't want there to be any risk of this game being bad. The one thing, the one demand that I have is that they let me hold my wand like a gun, like Robert Pattinson did in Harry Potter 4. But yeah, I know a lot of the audience here is a little bit younger, so are you interested in this? Like, is Harry Potter as cool to you as it is to people who were born in the 90s like me? Let me know down in the comments below. So Grand Theft Auto 5 is finally available on next-gen consoles, and in a surprise move, which was actually kind of cool, Rockstar made it incredibly cheap to upgrade from the PS4 version to the PS5 version. There is a timer on that. You have to get this deal within the first 3 months of it being available, and that also includes the standalone free version of Grand Theft Auto Online. So if you're interested in that, make sure you do it sooner than later. But this next gen update came out, and honestly, the upgrades that they made are turning out to be pretty cool in a lot of people's minds. And the PC version of Grand Theft Auto 5 is not getting any of these next gen upgrades as of now. So for right now, the PS5 is the best place to play Grand Theft Auto. Now, I've seen a few articles comparing the PS5 version of Grand Theft Auto to the PC version with a ton of graphics mods on it, and I just don't really think that's fair. And they also don't comment on the fact that if you apply all these mods that change the graphics on PC, you need an extremely beefy graphics card to be able to pull 60 frames per second out of the game. Whereas on the PS5, you've got a performance mode that runs at 60 frames per second at an upscaled 4K, and that's pretty cool. They also have a quality mode and a ray tracing mode. Both of those look really cool, but being able to play this game at 60 frames per second is immediately really cool to me because you can play it as a first-person shooter. In any game where you're aiming a gun in first person, just immediately, automatically, guaranteed feels better at 60 frames per second. And it's especially true with Rockstar games because they have a lot of input latency. So if you can remove that or reduce it by getting the game to run at a better frame rate, it is so worth it. And I gotta be real, with as much shade as all of us gamers have thrown at Rockstar over the past few months, which was definitely well deserved, this upgrade price is too good not to try it out. So if you have Grand Theft Auto or you've never played Grand Theft Auto 5 PS5 before somehow, definitely grab it while it's cheap, because paying full price for this is not going to be fun. But there is a bug plaguing this game right now where you have to be on your PS5 to get the special introductory price of $9.99, which you definitely want to do, again, because the higher price of I think $40 is definitely overpaying for this game, almost 10 years after it came out on the PS3. So if you want to get Grand Theft Auto 5, the best way to do it is to go on your PlayStation 5, get that $10 introductory price, and just make sure you do it before June 14th, because after that you're going to have to pay a lot more.